Hello and welcome to this episode of Ritter's Rant. Um, Today, the word I'll be exploring is silence. Not the kind of silence that many people want to hear. Days are very hectic, and I think we all appreciate a moment of silence where we can reflect on what's been going on, maybe clear our head, come up with some new ideas on how to move forward. That's the good kind of silence. The silence I'm talking about is the silence that's coming out of the International Atomic Energy Agency in the aftermath of the Israeli and American attacks on Iran's peaceful nuclear facilities. I emphasize the term peaceful because, back in 2015, in the aftermath of the signing of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the Iran nuclear deal, which placed the totality of Iran's nuclear infrastructure under the monitoring of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, using, inspections and techniques and technology that went well beyond anything required of Iran's safeguards agreement with the IAEA as part of the Nuclear Nonproliferation Treaty. No, Iran agreed to basically allow unprecedented monitoring of its nuclear facilities. And in conjunction with that, the IAEA carried out an in-depth investigation into the possible nuclear aspects of Iran's program, the fears that nations like Israel and the United States had that Iran might be pursuing a nuclear weapon. And at that time, the IAEA found that there was no evidence that Iran was pursuing a nuclear program, that Iran's nuclear infrastructure that was captured under the monitoring regime of the JCPOA was completely involved in peaceful activities. So this is why I'm comfortable in using the term peaceful nuclear programs, because the IAEA itself said they are peaceful and that there's been no evidence whatsoever that Iran has deviated from this, even in the aftermath of Donald Trump's precipitous withdrawal from the JCPOA back in 2018. The actions of the United States, Europe, and other nations to sanction Iran, to continue to punish Iran for doing what? For complying with what they said they would comply with when the JCPOA was signed. No, instead, Israel was allowed to manufacture a case that Iran was pursuing a nuclear weapon, that Iran wasn't pursuing a nuclear weapon. Even those such as myself who were concerned about what Iran was doing, saying that you create the perception that you could be pursuing a nuclear weapon, never said Iran had actually crossed that threshold. And to make matters even worse for the IAEA, Iran had committed to a process of negotiations with the United States about bringing this entire crisis under control, to allow the resumption of inspections, to get rid of stockpiles of 60% enriched uranium that the world was concerned about, to bring control to Iranian centrifuge cascades. The bottom line is to erase any possibility that people could be concerned that Iran was pursuing a nuclear weapons program by engaging in activities that would continue to certify the peaceful intent of Iran's programs. That was the reality on the eve of Israel's attack. But then Israel attacked, bombed Iranian nuclear facilities that were under the inspection of the International Atomic Energy Agency, citing as one of the justifications for this attack reports from the IAEA's Director General, Rafael Grossi, and reports that were then sustained by a resolution of the Board of Governors of the IAEA, that they had concerns that Iran wasn't fully compliant, that Iran was in material breach of its obligations under its safeguard agreements. Iran wasn't in material breach. Iran didn't violate the NPT. Iran didn't do anything wrong. But the IAEA, both in terms of the Director General and in terms of the Board of Governors, insinuated that they had. And that gave a green light to Israel, backed by the United States, to bomb Iran's nuclear infrastructure, an unprecedented action. Um, yes, we've seen in the past Israel bomb nuclear infrastructure, both in Iraq, the Osirak reactor bombing of 1981, and also the strike against Syria, I believe in 2006, against a facility that was alleged to be a covert nuclear reactor. But neither one of these attacks were done hand in glove with the International Atomic Energy Agency. The Israeli attack on Iran was not only facilitated by reports issued by the IAEA, but by intelligence provided directly to Israel from the IAEA, including Rafael Grossi, who met numerous times with senior Israeli officials and intelligence personnel about the nature of Iran's program, what was going on at facilities, how these facilities were laid out, where sensitive equipment was located. All of this information was used by Israel to attack Iran. And here we are in the aftermath where the IAEA is now playing the victim because Iran has broken off relations, not in totality. We just have seen Iran say that they can't trust the IAEA. They can't trust Rafael Grossi. They can't allow them back in under the way that, under programs that exist. The former way of cooperating between Iran and the IAEA is over. Iran has passed a law. It's been signed by their president, which basically says that all future cooperation with the IAEA, and Iran insists that it will continue to cooperate with the IAEA, especially when it comes to the implementation of a safeguards agreement, will be done through the Special National Security Committee, the senior most security body in Iran. It will no longer go through the Iranian Atomic Energy Organization. This will be handled as a national security matter by Iran because they can't trust the IAEA. There is concern that if the IAEA gains access to facilities, that they'll just simply pass this information on to Israel and the United States, who will once again bomb Iran. What does this mean for the credibility of the IAEA? I mean, they have yet to condemn Israel for bombing Iran. This is the silence that I'm speaking about. The IAEA has yet to condemn Israel for bombing Iran. Now, I mean, we understand why the IAEA isn't, because they are complicit in the attack. They are co-conspirators against Iran. But if the IAEA is to have any credibility going forward, it must not only acknowledge the role that it played in the lead up to the Israeli attack, to the American attack on Iranian nuclear infrastructure, but it must find a way to convince the world that it can once again be trusted. And the way to do that is to not only condemn the actions of Rafael Grossi, which would also require Rafael Grossi to be dismissed, to be discredited, condemn the prior actions of the IAEA in terms of its relationship with Israel, which is not a signatory nation to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel, which has its own covert, undeclared nuclear weapons program. Israel, which poses an existential threat to all nations of the region because of this undeclared nuclear program, to stop cooperating with Israel, to recognize Israel as a pariah nation, to seek to isolate Israel on the international stage because of its ongoing refusal to sign and adhere to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The IAEA must start treating Israel, not Iran, as the pariah nation. But as long as they remain silent, then from the mindset of the Iranians, the IAEA is in the same category as Israel, a hostile player that seeks to undermine Iran's lawful right to peaceful nuclear energy and to seek the dismembering of the Iranian government. The Israeli actions were linked to a plan related to regime change. And now we have to acknowledge that the IAEA, in conspiring with Israel, in collaborating with Israel, sought the same thing. How can Iran allow the IAEA, which has embraced a program seeking regime change in Iran, to return to Iran without significant changes? No, the silence out of Vienna is deafening. It's a silence that should be matched by the screams of the international community in protest to what the IAEA has done to international law, to concepts of nuclear nonproliferation, to international peace and security. And yet the world, like the IAEA, remains silent. That was my rant. Thanks for listening. Next time a thought crosses my mind, I'll be sure to let you know.